Hello, today we will recap a drama film, in which an old man falls in love with a young girl. Spoilers ahead, watch out and enjoy. The film begins with Humbert driving while holding a hairpin between his fingers. He remembers a young girl who goes by many names, from Lo to Dolores, but she will always be Lolita in his arms. Humbert recalls meeting Annabelle when he was 14 years old. Humbert wanted to be a spy, while she wanted to be a nurse. She died not long after he met her as a teenager, and fell in love with her. Despite the fact that the girl he adored had died, he continued to look for her as he grew into adulthood. Humbert accepts a teaching position at Beardsley College in America in 1947. During his free summer before the fall semester, he decided to finish a textbook he was working on. He goes to live at the house of a friend of his late uncle, the McCoos. However, when he arrives, the house has been destroyed by fire. Charlotte Hayes, a friend and widower of McCoos, graciously agrees to accommodate him. Charlotte walks him through the garden. And it is here that he discovers Lo, Charlotte's daughter, drenched and reading a magazine beside the sprinklers. Her clothes barely cover anything, and her knicker is visible underneath. Humbert can't take his gaze away from her. Lo smiles as she notices him, displaying her retainers and emphasizing her young age of 14. He mutters that she's lovely and inquires about the cost of the room. Days pass, and Humbert secretly and wistfully observes the childish, dance-obsessed Lo, who appears completely uninterested in him. One day, Lo pays him a visit to his room. She stands behind his desk, then unexpectedly sits on his lap, just to stick the chewed gum to his notebook. When Charlotte calls for Lo, she immediately stands up and runs away. Charlotte discovers Lo fleeing to her room, while Humbert attempts to remove the gum Lo had left on his notebook. Charlotte eventually forces Lo to pack her belongings for camp and then boarding school. On the day she's leaving, Humbert hurriedly looks out the window. Lo notices Humbert staring out the window as she gets into the car. Lo dashes back to their house, then up the stairs to jump for Humbert. She kisses him goodbye as she wraps herself around him. Humbert, on the other hand, rushes into Lo's room and dives into her closet. But as soon as he hears Louise's voice, he straightens up to greet her. When he reads the letter, he realizes it's from Charlotte, in which she expresses her love for him. She asks him to leave before she returns. If he doesn't, it just means he enjoys being with her as much as she does. Humbert stays and marries Charlotte, with Lo missing the wedding. He returns home one day to find Charlotte sobbing at the table. Where he'd called her a fat cow, old and stupid, and mentioned how much he liked Lo. She informs him that she is leaving, and promises that he will never see Lo again. He informs her that they both require a drink. Humbert receives a phone call informing him that Charlotte has died. Humbert notices Charlotte has left the writing table. The front door is completely open. When he steps outside, he discovers her lifeless body in the middle of the street. A kid hands the letters to Humbert, explaining that she was about to mail them when she was hit. Humbert eventually packs Lo's belongings and drives to camp to get her. In the car, Lo inquires about Charlotte, and Humbert informs her that she is in the hospital due to an abdominal problem. Lo then goes to the back to change her clothes. While he is watching her through the rearview mirror, they eventually check into a hotel. Lo crawls to a dog and begins mischievously playing with it, while Humbert is speaking with the receptionist. The owner of the dog is a wealthy and elderly gentleman. The owner remarks that his dog dislikes most people, but surprisingly likes Lo. When Lo asks who the dog likes, he responds that he can smell the sweetness, and prefers nice sweet young people like her. Later that night, while Lo is getting ready for bed, Humbert walks out. When Humbert arrives at the hotel's porch, he hears the same man asking, "Where in the devil did you get her?" He claims Lo is his daughter, but the other man knows he's lying. Humbert walks into their room and lies down on a small portion of the bed. The following day, Lo wakes up and blows his face. She kisses him softly and sloppily before whispering something in his ear, prompting Humbert to wonder if she did that with Charlie, a camper she met. She jokes with him, assuming she'll have to show him everything, and then she starts untying his pajama bottoms and hugs him. They drive away from the hotel, and Lo requests that he take her to the gas station because she is in pain. He looks terrified, and she tells him what he should expect after what he did. She describes herself as a daisy-fresh young lady. Before breaking into a grin, Lo muses about calling the cops and telling them he forced himself on her. Lo rushes to the store, and when she returns, she asks Humbert for coins so she can call her mother. He informs her that she cannot, and she inquires as to why she is unable to contact her mother. Humbert finally tells her the truth. One hot morning, Lo and Humbert hug on a chair in an inn, while Lo reads comics. They eventually arrive at Beardsley College, where Humbert begins teaching. He also gets Lo into the liberal Beardsley Prep School. One afternoon, Lo expresses an interest in participating in a school play with Humbert. Humbert is already aware of it, and he flatly refuses to accept it. She approaches Humbert and sits on the floor in front of him. She plays with his hot dog with her foot. She then seduces him, by telling him she has the right to be in a play if she so desires. She demands an increase in her allowance, and the right to participate in the play. She expresses her desire for things in the same way, that he desires things from her. One day, one of the schoolgirls, Mona, draws his attention to a smoking man near the exit, claiming to be Claire Quilty, the playwright. As their relationship deteriorates, Humbert finds himself purchasing her favors. He believes she is saving every penny in the hopes of fleeing him. He discovers that Lo has missed the previous 2 piano lessons. He accuses Lo of trying to flee him, which she does not deny. He slaps her, and she accuses him of being a murderer. He asks her to stop, but she refuses and continues to accuse. She screams and flees. Humbert finds Lo in a pharmacy. Lo quickly conceals the fact that she was calling someone. She tells him she has been trying to contact him since she made a decision. She wants to leave Beardsley and go on another trip, but she gets to pick the destination this time. The following day, the fake father-daughter duo departs Beardsley for wherever Lo desires. She uses her lipstick to make a map to show Humbert where he needs to go. Humbert, on the other hand, notices that they are being followed as they drive. He asks her to write down the car's license plate and suspects that a detective who looks like his uncle Gustav is following them. The detective kept changing cars and vanished on occasion, leaving him to wonder if he was hallucinating. One day, Humbert stops at a gas station and goes inside to try on some sunglasses. When he looks out the window, he sees Lo talking to a man in a hat, and by the time Humbert rushes out, the man has vanished. Humbert gets in the car and asks about him, and she explains that he inquired about a map. The two eventually return to an inn, and Humbert leaves Lo to get her bananas while he gets a haircut. In the barbershop, he hears on the radio that Claire Quilty will be in Wace, Texas that night. When Humbert returns to the inn, he finds Lo seated, her feet dirty and her lipstick smeared. He claims she has been out, but she claims she has only just gotten out of bed. As he hugs her again, he throws her on the bed and begs her to tell him who it is. She only smiles, kisses, and laughs at him. On a rainy night, they leave and stop at another inn. As the woman shows Humbert to their room, they notice Lo sitting on the ground, pale and shivering. The doctor tells Humbert in the hospital that it's just a virus and nothing to worry about. The doctor asks him to leave or else he will catch it as well. When he calls to check on her the next day, the nurse tells him that Lo is doing well and that her uncle Gustav has signed her out. He looks for her, going back to all the places they've been, always a step behind. He never finds them because he doesn't know who kidnapped her. 3 years later, Humbert receives a letter from Lo. She informs him that she is married and expecting a child soon. They require help, and she requests financial assistance to help them survive. She expresses her sadness and hardships, and she signs off with Dolly, Mrs. Richard F. Schiller. When Humbert pays Lo a visit, he discovers a more mature version of her. He notices the pregnancy when she greets him warmly. Humbert takes a stroll around their home, noticing her husband working on some electrical wires through the back door. He appears to be her age, and Humbert realizes he is not the man he is looking for. She realizes he's still on the hunt for the man who kidnapped her, and explains that her husband had nothing to do with it. He stands up and tells her he'll find out for himself, and she's surprised he doesn't know. Finally, she tells him that he was Quilty. Lo tells Humbert that Quilty was the only man she was truly in love with, and Humbert asks her how she felt about him. She gets up and walks to the kitchen. At Humbert's request, she tells him about how everyone knew Quilty liked little girls, and that he filmed them in his mansion. He threw her out because she refused to serve groups of men. Humbert requests that she accompany him one last time. Lo believes he is offering her money in exchange for sleeping with him in a motel, but Humbert denies this. He assures her that even if she refuses, she will still receive money. Lo is taken aback when she discovers $4,000 in the envelope. He invites her to accompany him, but she declines. When Humbert asks Lo if she will ever forget what he did to her, she only tells her dog to kiss her father goodbye. Humbert walks back to his car, dejected, and sees Lo waving goodbye. It turns out Humbert went to Quilty's mansion and killed him. Following that was a scene in which Humbert was driving recklessly down the road, and the police were pursuing him for Quilty's murder. Before the cops can arrest him, Humbert gets out of his car and looks out over a village where he can hear children playing. He believes that the most heartbreaking thing was not Lolita's absence from his side, but the absence of her voice from the chorus. The film concludes with the police capturing Humbert and transporting him to prison. Humbert died in prison on November 16, 1950, of coronary thrombosis. Lolita died in childbirth a month later on Christmas Day. So this was the story of the film Lolita, released in 1997. If you like the story, then do watch the full film, and if you want to watch more such amazing recaps, then do subscribe to our channel. See you in the next recap.